We're back with part 2 of the Melbourne Pro Punters panel with our special guest, Flemington track manager Mick Goody. Mick, you've got a
Hang on now. No, sorry. I'm sorry. I've just got a buddy and I'm going to talk about it raw. It's got me. And you can get this legal afterwards because we're not live, are we?
No, not yet.
You heard about those lights? You know, where the government scheme where
where they come in and put LED lights in your house.
And replace the old lights. It's free. It's totally free. So it's one of those things out of the newspaper. Right over, come over. Yeah, how many you got? Yeah, no worries. What you got? Yeah, no worries. What day? Yep. The bloke walks in with a 3-foot ladder. 3-foot ladder. That's that height. And he's my height, which is not tall. 5'8" when I stand on my toes. Gets to the top of it and goes, can't reach, I'll have to go get the other ladder. I said, I'll get another ladder, I'll get one. He said, no, I'll get one out in the truck, it's just an extra $90. I said, I'm sorry, he said, oh, it's just an extra $90. I said, for 2 more steps. He goes, yeah, but it's just, different ladder. I said, no, I said, look, when you go into your truck, leave yourself out there and go home. So I'm just warning you. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily free, the scheme.
If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Mick, you've brought a bit of show and tell with you there. It's something that you've been using with great effect out there. And you can spike Ralphie with it if you wish.
It's a going stick. Someone have to give you flowers or chocolates first before you...
You should have also brought the penetrometer around. We could have had a
It's gone.
It's gone in the bag.
It went straight in the bin. I was supposed to use it for another 3 months, but it's too time consuming and it's too useless. It doesn't tell me anything. So that part of the stick is pushed into the track, and that throws a reading up into this box, and then it'll tell you to pull it back. So you pull it back and it'll tell you the shear strength of the root system. And you'll actually hear it when it's really tight. You'll hear the root system crack when you do it. It all goes in there, so I can't touch it. No one else can touch it. And what's in there, a lead comes out to your computer, it goes to England and it comes back to us, and that's it. We cannot touch it. So like it uses fax and it actually uses fax. It can't be tampered with. That's that could catch on in the racing industry.
So when you push it in, so just say the track's a heavy 9 as opposed to a good 3.
Yep.
How's it sensing the difference?
There's a data, there's a wire in here that goes up and feeds into the box. But with the penner, we had a bolt that dropped on and it just hit it into the ground. Didn't measure anything, it just told us how firm it was. But the lower the number, the firmer the track was. Well, I think the lower the number, it means it's got more moisture. And this is how this works. The lower the number is, the worse the track's affected. But the most important thing for me, as a racecourse manager, and I think going forward for the kids in the bush and that, once they get them, that'll take a couple of years before everyone gets one, unfortunately. But time wasn't made in a hurry, was it? So
what's it? Is it the cost of this thing, or is it that not a lot of them made or something?
Well, it's an English company. Initially it's about $4,000 by the stick, but he's cut the price of the stick down so it's more affordable, and he's charging more for the data. So initially your output is less, but over the period of your life you'll pay a bit more, but it's not the upfront cost. But for a racecourse manager to know what your root system's doing without digging a hole is a huge benefit to us. And I think once people get to use them day in, day out, and you'll see your shear in winter will be down around 8 and 9. If it's any lower, you start to say to yourself, what's going on here? So you'll be investigating.
So for instance, like at Mooney Valley when they had that root issue, if they were using this, it might have picked it up earlier.
Yeah, he was using it, but he was only using it kind of race day to race day because he still had to be doing the penno. Yeah. And the penno being so time consuming, once that's out of the way and they're purely just using sticks, like I would have loved to have seen the penno just completely ditched. Yeah. I can't, for the life of me, remember anyone telling me it was any good, that it was any benefit to it. And I think the person who needs the benefit of anything we do to the track after the racecourse manager is the punter and the participants, and they want the truth. And this is the only piece of equipment that will tell you the truth, because there's no human intervention.
And not only that, we can then build that, like what you're doing, Mick, where you're building up your database, so you've got a log of what you've got there. We can see similar things like that, of how it raced, when we had those measurements, and then we can build up our data as well.
Absolutely.
So a few months ago, when I first ran the Mick out at Flemington, he told me to keep an eye on the shear.
Yep.
And as Mick said, if it's a rain affected track, it might be as low as 8.
Yeah.
And if on Saturday, what was it?
It was 11.0 or 12.6 or something. But
So ever since then, I've been keeping a record of them, and then going and having the track after the meeting. And once it seems to get over, say 11, there's almost no marking. Like on Saturday there, they left the track a S5, but there's just no marking on it. There was no divots. It was incredible.
because it's so, the root system underneath is so strong and healthy that it takes a lot to actually snap it out of the profile. So this thing's been very beneficial for me, especially with the fertiliser program and root structure, as I said.
So one of the things that really strike me with racing, and to some extent I've said this a couple of times, and in a weird way, even though I knew Mick in the early 80s, but I've been outside of doing farming in depth. I worked in the footy media for years, I was a trainee, but now I'm sort of immersed myself in so much in racing. It's like people want to talk their own language and don't want to teach people things. So, I could never get my head around ratings, because apparently something was 108 and something else was a 94, and fucking meant nothing to me, even though I followed racing all my life. So I'm thinking, how many other people want to get into racing, but they see that numbers and it's just gibberish to them, including Vince Cardi's IBR data. You've got to understand where it goes about. And so when it comes to something like this, Mick, you've got two challenges now that you believe in it. It's not just to use it to put the information out, but then put the information out so that it makes sense to people.
I'm not a great fan of data. Anyone at the VRC will tell you I'm not a great computer man. I don't want to be on it, don't care. But for me, the data out of this, and I marry Vince's times. Like the VRC about 2 years ago asked to have Vince's data sent, because there was questions about whether the backstroke was a bit slower than the rest of the track, and so I wanted to get that data for myself and marry it up to the ratings.
Tell a story. You rang me. Tell us the story. What happened?
Well, I can't say exactly what I said, but I said, no, it can't be right.
So who's this Vince Cardi?
Yeah.
I said, mate, you've never seen anyone work like it.
And my original intention was, and Vince, I will do it. I wanted to go there and see his data and see what he did. And I haven't got there, but I promise you, Vince, I will get there one day. Time gets us all. But no, I just wanted to marry it for my own benefit. So I just said, it can't be. But
And he was saying things on radio that you said, hang on, yeah, it's right, but how do you know that you haven't been out there?
Because there was patterns in the watering that he picked up.
Okay.
Just for how fast horses were running in that part of the track. I mean, that's...
As I said to you the other day, you can't water every track uniformly the same, because the back straight at Flemington doesn't get the wear and tear, so it has a thicker cover of grass. So you need to put maybe 1 or 2 mil less, and then round the straight, the inside 3 metres, you've got to be very careful. As I said to you before, the last thing I want at this time of the year with the inside 3 is rain the day before.
Yep.
Because it has that old KQU root system in underneath, and it holds the water. As the fine leaf grasses, it'll push it through quicker. Anyway, we're getting off the subject. Anyway, he was picking up things, and look, he must have seen me water, and he must have been out because I was going 4 down the back lane, I was 5 round the
Agent 13 had to get smart.
But I thought, no. And then I said to Liam, you haven't told anyone what we've done with the water? And he said, no. And he wouldn't do that because he's a solid kid. But anyway, he knew. It's amazing how times can change.
How does that help you then, now knowing that's the question for us punters?
Look, it just reinforces what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's all good when everything goes right. It's when things go wrong. When you get attacked by everyone in the industry, you want something to say to you, that's maybe why it happened, or this is why it didn't happen.
Yes.
and that's why I managed both together.
Well, it's like you just mentioned with this, that if the shear gets below a certain level, you know you've got the issue, you know, further into it. That, whatever Vince is picking up all the time, just says to you there's something he wanted to have a look at, because the work he does is,
What surprised me is he's bloody right.
yeah.
Like, he actually knew. It was as if he was standing beside me when I was walking the track the day before. I need to cut down here, I need to cut down there, I need to put a bit more there. It was as if he was right in my pocket.
So anyway, for all the punters, that stuff we're talking about, the shear and the other ready to come out of the going stick, on the VRC website, all the information's there. It goes back a fair way to that.
6 years.
Yeah, so.
I'd keep it and marry your own data. Work on what works for you. But make sure you put your shear in so that you know how a track races at that specific mark.
Yeah.
So there's an excellent article I saw recently at Footy. The Twitter site is the Arc Footy. I'll check it's the Arc Footy or the Arc AFL. It's about the difference between go beyond the box score. It's the Arc Footy.
Yeah, when you go through and dissect it a little bit more in depth.
Quickly, I'll get to the point. But so, in other words, in base, it comes from baseball. You know, the box score is hits and what is it? Runs batted.
Yeah, RBIs and.
But then now the Major League Baseball on its website has got this unbelievable data behind the data, which really, if you're engaged in the sport, you end up loving it. It's inspired a bit by Moneyball.
Yeah, it's sabermetrics.
Changed baseball forever. Their premise about footy is that the AFL's got all this data, the champion data, that they own, probably, that they don't release to the public, that they just release the kicks, marks, handballs, inside 50s, the basics. My argument with racing is that we don't even release the basics.
Yeah, no, we should be give everyone everything and then let them figure it out, which is what baseball did, and now there's a whole cottage industry of sabermetrics which is exactly doing that.
I'm talking your language because you're mad. Sport's better as well. But so I think, and just my 2 bolts worth, Mick, it's not a name drop. But I was so lucky. My first ever commercial gig was at Triple M, and I come in as give the tip for racetrack Alfie, and I did racing language.
Yeah,
tried to. And afterwards, Eddie McGuire said to me, pretend or have the mindset that everyone in racing. Everyone listening doesn't give a fuck about racing. Then make it interesting to them.
Yeah.
So in other words, don't use any global language. And I think with things like this, we need to, and maybe someone at the VRC and the media department who can help, to say, all right, it's an 11, but this is what 11 means, and this is how the track raced when I was 11.
Yeah, or the last time we had this,
So the Mick puts it out, Mick's busy enough, and the track team are busy enough, but then there's someone in the office, or at Racing Victoria, big websites and all that, who actually says, this is what it means. Because it's okay for punks like you and me, Potts, and you, Juppy, and any other punter who takes it really seriously. But we want as many people as possible to take this sport seriously, and the best way to do it is to break down the barriers, to say, right, this is a 10 today, there's an 8, but this is what it means, and this is how the track races what it means. Like that. Maybe even
on Saturday, the win was from the southwest. Now, anyone who knows Flemington or has walked Flemington, you know where the southwest is. It's across their body and slightly into their face, coming up the straight. So I would say that it raced how a southwest track would race.
Yes.
That's cover on the turn, 3D, all that sort of data. It's on the website. It's there for you. The weather station's there. Marry up your 11.8, your southwest breeze, and over time you're going to say, okay, that should race with cover, 3D.
So the key pieces of information are the rail position, the wind direction, and the shear. So whatever the shear is, the information probably goes up on
Sorry, what is the shear again? So hit back out of this. What's the shear?
It measures the strength of the root system.
Right. And the significance for punters is what?
Well, the higher the number is, the less divots you'll get. So that should mean that they will not drift too far.
Yes.
And if you say it was around 12 on Saturday, you go back to the previous meeting and it was 12, and they'll run similar times if the winds
of a similar nature.
So, and this is where I think I'll back over my point again from what you presented. So that, as you said, all the information's there, but at the moment you still need to be pretty full on, as a race informed person to decipher all that.
Yeah.
My argument to the industry is there should be someone from the industry doing who does all that and says, right, Mick Goody's put out this, or Jason Kerr, or Kim Bailey, or Marty Siner, who do a fantastic job, and they put out this information. That usually means that this happens. No one's going to hold you to it, but you're going to make it easier for the average punter who works his ass off 9 to 5 or Monday
What's
to
the
Friday.
sort of information I put in the set? So if Racing Victoria want to get...
Installing lights.
Installing lights on 3
I actually think it's better for the race courses, course managers, and especially when we get them pushed, because if people are told before the race, look, this is the pattern, we think it'll race, and it races that way, it takes away the criticism that the young race course manager gets, a lot of times unwarranted. He's got to deal with what he's got, and it'll make his life easier, and it'll keep him in the industry, unlike at the moment where we're losing too many young talented people for no other reason than they can't handle the pressure.
Sorry buddy, but give me an example, no names, no backdoors, I won't ask you, of a kid who's copped it and says all stuff.
I can give you plenty of
First one,
that.
as to what happened, obviously don't go and track it.
Well, it just gets too much for him, and there's no, how you going, mate?
Yes.
None of that stuff. There's no, because we're all so busy doing what we're doing that there's no love for them. So who do they turn to?
There's no upside, is there? Like if you get to a track and it races perfectly, everyone goes, well, that's what we expected.
Yeah.
But if you get there and it's not how the racing media was perceived how it was going to play, then it's uproar. And the other side of that, Mick, is I'm going to have a go here, is that the people that are often levelling this criticism would have less than no fucking idea about growing grass or looking after a track, and that's what makes it hard.
But I think if we get this information right, we get it out, we say this is how it should race, this is how we think it should race, and it races that way, we'll get some consistency in it, and that'll make it better across the industry for people to work in it.
It's a prime example a month ago, you can choose to comment or not, but Lawrence Stakes Day.
Yeah.
So the track's given out a good form. You walked it, you
Yeah, we walked
it. Sorry, you walked it, both of you. It said that work had been done on the track. And it played, I don't care how dry it was or wet or anything, it played like a slow, say 6 or 7 round about. That's what the times were. So it was to do with the work on the track. My argument is, as a punter, I think I'm fair in saying this, Jason Kerr, all the boys, Jason Kerr's a fucking expert. He decided he needed to do that then, for the spring carnival, no worries. But that information wasn't given across to the punting public. I dare say that would have shown up on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then everyone knows.
Some parts you wouldn't, it would would have fallen into the ground. It wouldn't have touched any ground because there's big holes.
I reckon it would have gone from, say, if it was a Fleming Dive birdie drain this morning after the races, and they were preparing for the carnival, the whole track got birdie drained, 12 mil tines, 4 inches apart. And I'm going 200 mil. I reckon my shear would go from about 11.8, 12.6, it dropped to 8.5, and that is a heavy track.
Yeah. Because you're just opening it up.
It doesn't race like a heavy track,
No.
but it slows the horses down because they get more of a grip on it and they're punching into it, it's air. So if that information's out there, the track's been really drained, it'll race slower than the rating. It is a good form, but it will race slower than
Well,
the
that's what
rating.
Pod said on that day in his preview. He said, this is going to be a real test of fitness, and the fittest horses are going to come to the fore here, and that's the way that it played out.
Where does it help punters? Here. Potts identified it when he looked at Caulfield that day, and what Mick just said then. If the track is racing significantly slower, it means it's a greater test of resistance. A greater test of resistance doesn't only test fitness, as Potts says, but it means the leaders are disadvantaged because they're the ones doing the work in that early, and it saps their energy. So that's where all the information, in other words, what the track managers do at the coalface to what punters are doing if you're doing form properly, it all marries up and we're all in this together.
Yeah.
So you may as well get the best information out there so that everyone wants to be part of this fascinating sport.
Yeah, Mick, I reckon something that has helped you over the last couple of months is we've had, like, my family's got a farm the other side of Horsham, we're having a bumper year. The rainfall that we've had this winter's month, like, I've commented a couple of times to those spots, all the tracks are in really, really, really good health at the moment, and especially Flemington.
We've had beautiful winter rain, and I've only had the watering machine on it 3 times since start of August. Now, the previous 10 years, I would have been watering maybe 4 or 5 times a week. Now, I watered twice leading into our meeting last week, just to keep it in a range that was going to be good 3. With forecast for 25 to 50. And people don't understand. They say, why the hell are you watering? Well, with the sand profile, if I don't keep something on it,
Yeah.
if I get the rain, that's better. If I don't get the rain,
Then we're in trouble.
they're lining up. It's
Yeah.
like free tickets to the whatever.
Yeah, here's a free hit.
Well, speaking of which, you copped that on Derby
So,
Day.
let's
that
just,
was my
let's just
fault.
before we cover on that. So this year you've only had the watering truck over on the track 4 times.
3 times.
3 times.
3 times.
So compare that to the same period last year. How many times has the watering truck have been on?
Oh, at least 20.
Yeah. So,
And there would have been about 3-4 winters ago, we started watering, our watering season in July.
That's right. Yeah.
And the wear on the track over a 9-month period of the tractors going up and down and force traffic, and it creates lanes, and then you get the derivation of verti draining, which I wanted to do, and then everyone says, I'm tampering with it. So I can't win.
This is what we need to do. Like, as an overall industry, Mick's an expert. Potts and Ralphie do form. They're trying to be experts in their field, but when you're punting, you get things wrong. Just let these people do what they're good at, and just let them go. You can't keep coming over the top saying, "Oh, we want significant." My one is Freeman's with our Ivanhoe. It's going, "Oh, the track's too hard." Blah blah blah. If you buy a horse with crook feet and bring it to Australia, don't believe that the tracks are too hard. Because
the other day.
yeah, and it was a good run the other day. But Mick, going forward, I can't wait to get there Cup Week and the Turnbull Stakes Day, because just from what we've saw,
Your ducks in a row as well.
Yeah,
when you're running every fortnight there during the winter,
yeah.
you can, and then we had that couple of weeks break, and it just the whole joint bloomed, didn't it, Potts? Like it really came back, and it's really healthy, and it just looks brilliant, and race that way on Saturday. And I think with another extended break going into Turnbull Stakes Day, I mean, look out come November.
So we don't want to avoid it because we're mates really, but so Derby Day last year, how much of that was you second guessing yourself because of, at the time, the big pressure was about not racing on tracks that are too firm, which Caulfield ridiculously copped on Guineas Day, which all the subsequent winners went on from Guineas Day. So you second guessing yourself saying, shit, I better put some water on it, and then the rain hit as well. What type of pressure did you find in yourself, and how did you cope with it?
It'd be fair to say, I reckon it's probably one of the hardest leadings I've ever had, because there was so much talk about, was it going to rain, will it rain? So I was on the phone all the time, and the Bureau started to get to the stage where they were saying, well, we're not sure you're going to get it. Well, when they said that, knowing Flemington as I think I know it, I knew if it went into Derby Day firm, that it wouldn't matter how much water I put on it between Saturday night and Tuesday morning, it was going to be very firm Cup Day. And I didn't want that. I know, I love a good 3 track, and I believe I can prepare a good 3 if I'm allowed to prepare it the way I want to prepare it.
Yeah.
That horses can gallop on, pull up, go back home. Some may be a bit stiff and sore, but the best athletes in the world, when they have a head out, they pull up a bit stiff and sore.
Not injured.
But they get over it. 2 to 3 days, they're back on their feet and away they go.
Most people who watch this show would have either watched rugby league or AFL. If you go and look in the rooms after the game, they've got two 40-litre rubbish bins full of ice that these blokes are jumping into to try and take it out. It's no different from the equine
They
athletes.
play 4 days later.
Yeah, and they're backing up.
Yeah.
So go on. So then,
I said it on the Monday on whoever I was getting interviewed by and cutting it off. It's probably the only time I didn't back myself in, and I'm filthy on it. I probably will be for the rest of my life.
yeah.
Anyway, look, you don't need to be, Mick. It's over and done with. It was
Yeah.
He's up front.
When we were part of it, we blew up the Lux after that. It was no good, and shit happens. But I just want to say to that.
Plus, I'll guarantee you one thing, no one done it harder than I.
Yeah, absolutely. You can tell. You can just tell. It was clear as a bell how hard it took it. But the other part that we haven't discussed yet, that we just have a brief touch on, is part of what happened on Derby Day. So there was all the winter with no rain, the water and tractor rolling around all the time. The Mick aerated because he had the machine to do it. And there's also the inside 3 metres at Flemington, which, as Mick's explained to me, there's different grass there. There's some Kaikoura grass growing into that area, and it is completely different at different times of the year. It's something that I've been figuring out. So on Saturday, there's people thinking. So on Saturday the inside was off, and you just can't expect that to be the case every time the rail's true, because it'll change depending on the time of the year and how strong that Kaikoura is and how
firmer the truer. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Firmer the truer?
Well, in summer,
Yeah.
for it to be firmer, I have to actually manicure it. I have to cut it shorter.
Yeah.
So that Kaikoura doesn't get thick and dense, because what happens when it gets thick, it's just got roots, very relief, and it gets very hard for horses to draw their feet
you
out.
can't even rip it out. Yeah.
If you watch horses on Sydney tracks, they actually seem to be plugging into it when it gets heavy and that. And in summer, they skim across the top of them because they mow them a bit shorter than we do, and it doesn't get that real thickness in it. But for me, it's an absolute pain at the moment, because it only gets out to about 3 metres. And the worst times for me to operate is obviously when you get rain the night before in the troop. It's the only when the rail's in the troop. In springtime, it can be an issue because I don't have the thickness of rye covering a layer of thatch. I know I'm talking double Dutch, but some people will understand what I'm saying. Then in summer, I've got this thick pad over the top of thatch and that, so I cannot water it the same as the rye, because the rye just takes it straight through.
Yep.
Whereas that inside 3, it absorbs it. So I'm actually manipulating what I'm doing, but the intentions are it's best for everyone.
And so the ignoramus question here is that how come that grass is at that section of track, why can't you get it?
On the inside of the rail, and it's the same on the outside, but the outside it doesn't grow in because I have the tractor traffic. The inside of the rail is pure kike, and it creeps out.
Right, from the rail.
And the warmer the weather it gets, the more it creeps, and then once
There's nothing you can do about it.
No,
Imagine.
Well, you have to rip that off.
I can. When we relay it after next year's carnival, 2017, I'll take all that.
So it's a major job.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only thing you can probably do if you wanted to do it now, Nick, would be to spray it out, and it'd probably be yellow from now until then. And as you say, you're then dealing with more issues by doing something like that. You have to do, as you say, is just rip it up and start again, because it will just keep creeping out.
I think most of the times we get it pretty well right, but it's occasions like Friday night where I get the rain and I don't get a chance to do any remedial work to help it, or nature doesn't help it because I haven't got the time.
And
I think the point is for punters, is the point I'm making is it's a moving target.
Yeah.
It's a moving target for the track manager, and it's a moving target for the punters. So, you've got to treat each track, each set of circumstances on its merits.
Well, each track's a living organism in its own right, and everyone's got different characteristics. We saw it, another one you called Potts was last Wednesday at Sandown. We went home after 3 races, and everyone's blowing up deluxe going, we haven't had any rain for how long, it's been windy and whatnot, but we're going home after 3 races because there's a slippery spot at the top, at the bottom of the hill. But all you need to do is get...
I'll say this with Tim Bailey and his team out there who are doing a great job. They're trying to deal with a really poorly designed track.
Correct.
And it's nothing to do with the way the turf's been managed. Unfortunately, that the combination of the steep hill, the sharp turn, and the way it's draining are causing problems. And I don't think they can use that track until they do something about it. And it's not going to be easy to fix, because whatever you do to the lakeside track
affects the hillside.
Affects the hillside.
Be rest assured, Tim will be doing everything he possibly can. Like, that's what Tim does, and look, it's unfortunate for Tim, but he's the right person there to be doing the job, and he'll get it right.
Unlike you, I don't know Tim. But I say that track raced so well for a decade under his guidance that it's implausible.
Yeah,
He's not very good at his job.
Correct.
So that means there's a structural problem there that either the industry or the Melbourne Racing Club and all have to get behind him, or just say, you know what, we're going to develop, send out for housing and send everything to Pakenham or whatever. But at the moment, we're in this middle area which is suiting no one. It's not suiting punters, it's not fair on track staff, and it's not good for the industry.
The point we have to say is that the hillside track's fine. It's no
Yeah,
issue
there's nothing wrong with the
hillside.
hillside.
It's just that it's coming down the hill,
On the
turning
right
into
side.
the home straight.
They're under the pump, aren't they?
If you have liked what Mick has said from a knowledge point of view as a punter, let him know on Twitter and let us know and retweet it and give it a thumbs up on YouTube, because I think what Mick does for the punters, and that's why we got him in, not to talk about industry issues, is sensational. And I know I'm biased because I'm mates with him, but I love the fact that he's made himself available to come in and let other people know about it.
Just one other thing to come out of that Sandown meeting was, and it was one I'm sick that I missed it. Damien Oliver won on ticketing out there, and I didn't. And Mick, you get to look at them when you can, and Potts, you look at them off the screen when you can. I didn't actually get a chance to go out and watch them in the yard, because sometimes, especially at Sandown, because everything's there, if I'm not clerking, I could pop up there and look at him. So I've gone and watched him return to scale, and he had 1.5 inch spurs on, and I've gone, well, the old Mark Lambourne Pearl, if nothing else, it's a signal of intent.
Yes.
How did I miss that? I wish I hadn't missed that, because then all of a sudden I would have had something on him. So
It's one of those things that makes sense, always makes sense after the race, right?
True.
But when you look at ticketing's form, there was no reason to believe that horse would have been on pace, except if you had noticed that it had spurs on.
Talk about Damien. He's one who actually can kick him in the ribs too.
yep,
But as far as walking tracks go, jockeys, there's 3. And there's something funny about who the 3 are. It's D. Oliver,
yep.
C. Williams, D. Dunn.
Where they run the top 500.
And
So what you're saying is that the hardest workers are also the most talented.
well, they walk at every meet, rain, hail or shine. Rain, hail or shine. There's a lot of kids do it too, but these 3 have been consistent every meet for as long as I've been doing it.
Bo Moons? Have you noticed Bo Moons?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
He
There's a lot of
he had
kids.
a really good winter, Bo. He rode a lot of tricky
Well, I
tracks.
think Sandown and Crawford, because that's close to home
Yeah.
for him. Being a apprentice, they're a little bit tied up. You've got to be mucking out boxes in the mornings. Some mornings. It's no coincidence, is it?
Mick, can I ask you a question about Dwayne Dunn there? I saw him, wasn't the meeting just gone, it was the meeting before at Sandown, and I think Pod said, can you just go outside and see what the wind's doing? And he was out walking the track, but he was doing it without a stick, which I thought was a little bit, well, I would have thought, like, how can you tell unless you're sort of getting it in there? So,
I only use this,
yeah,
and any other time I walk the track, I don't take anything with me.
okay,
So I like to get a feel for it. You would notice they wear very thin-soled shoes,
that's true, yeah, they do.
so they can feel exactly what's going on. And I don't doubt him because he's a hard worker and he's very successful.
But comparing that with the other 2, those 2 will get out there with the umbrella, and especially if it's wet, they've normally got plastic bags over the boots as well.
Damien's, Craig's very confident in what he does, doesn't matter what he's talking to, that's him. Sometimes Damien likes to be reassured.
Yeah.
He always asks me about the stick. Does it marry up? Now, first thing Damien said to me on Saturday at the races, after he said hello, was, what are your stick readings outside, inside? Now, I didn't even look at Kentucky Miss. When I told him the outside was 9.2 and the inside was 8.9, he said, thank you. After the race, I looked and it drew 19. So it confirmed what he wanted to hear. He jumped out of the barriers, as we said earlier, with one intention. I want to be in this part of the track.
It's another gentleman that I speak to quite often, and he's very knowledgeable and nice bloke to talk to, is Peter Ellis. He's obviously made a huge difference to the Weir team, and he's also a very good track walker too. He's big, like he gets out there and he does his homework.
When I was a kid and started in the game, Peter's great, he puts in a lot of time. There were two people who started walking tracks.
Yeah.
First two were Kevin Colgan
Yeah.
and Sid Hill.
Sid Hill, who passed away.
They actually helped us develop our job.
Yeah.
They made us more professional. Now, a lot of people are going to look at me and say, bullshit. I'm telling you, they made us change the way we did things because they told us where the problems were.
Yeah. And he was, I know Sid's son Chris quite well, and a lot of my mates used Sid before he passed. Yeah, and Sid and Marcy, we miss him, and he was for those who don't know, he was a bookie back in the day, but later on in life, he was, especially at Caulfield too, he was an absolute expert on walking tracks, and he got a huge advantage out of it back in the day when probably not too many, if any, were doing it.
Well, the windsock that we put in at the 600,
yeah,
that is Sid's sock.
Well, there we go.
The name on the pole is Sid's sock.
Sid Hill sock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he wanted it there so he could look from the mountain yard with his binos
And
see what direction the wind was.
Too smart, Sid.
And never told anyone.
I hate leaving things off air, but I guarantee you, one of my favourite jokes Mick just reminded me of, and I'll say it to him whenever I feel quiet.
So in the lead up to last week's meeting, Nick, from say Thursday onwards, how many people were out there having a look at the track up to the race morning?
That I seen, there was yourself. I didn't see Peter Howe, which is unusual.
No, he was in Sydney.
Yeah. Normally someone from the Aquanita branch will be out there. Darren Murphy.
And then, now that Trevor does a lot, Trevor Lawson does a lot, so he was in Hobart, but I talked to Trevor anyway, and I'll share things around with.
Darren Murphy, Peter Ellis, and then obviously race morning you see the jocks come out.
Yeah.
And as I said, them three are always first to cab off the ramp, and the younger kids are starting to develop the habit of doing it, which is good to see.
Yeah.
And the thing
and
is,
the trainers, so Mick Kenson made a track walk. Is there many other trainers that'll get out there and have a poke around?
They don't go too far.
Maybe to the jockeys.
Too far. Well, look, realistically, you got to look at it from the trainer's perspective. Once they lead the jock up,
Yeah.
their job's done. They're paying someone to do the job,
Yeah.
and realistically, he should have walked the track for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's a major part of the jockey's job description.
yeah,
Definitely.
And moving forward, the kids should be made to do it at every track.
yeah. And not only that, Mick, I know from our experience, like we just sort of started off our own bat, didn't we? Possibly you've been going regularly, but
Well, I started talking to Trevor Lawson, who's a Melbourne professional punter, been walking tracks for a long time with Peter Howler, you mentioned, and the more I listen to him, the more sense it made to me, and ever since I've been doing it, I don't know how I got on before. Previously, when I wasn't doing it.
Tell you what, you'll get the day where it just completely goes wrong and you go.
No, I've got a few wrong, so I mean, I think every time I walk I learn something.
We all get them wrong.
You know,
We
so
all get them wrong.
But the other thing I was getting to there is, like at Flemington, you can call past the race day office, just let them know, because otherwise Mick gets a phone call from the security saying there's some pickle out there in the middle of your track, you've got to go and check that out. But they're happy to talk to you, and they're happy to let you walk the track, and they're happy to give you any advice or answer any questions you got. So, like,
I actually condone people walking.
Yeah.
I reckon it teaches them and maybe gives them more of an insight to actually what happens.
Yeah.
I'd love people to walk them after a race.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I talked to Mick last week about the coming spring carnival, because I want to walk the track after each of the day after each of the
Don't say
race
it on
days.
here.
So,
We're going there, John.
do you want me to cut that bit out?
There's a couple of other little points to come out of the last week or so. The Profits tweet, profits.com, he'll be coming along hopefully next Sunday. There was a change of tactics in race one that was critical yesterday at Sale. The tweet went out 2 minutes before the race. Come on guys, we need to get that a little bit better. And then DG Punts tweeted in, we'll give another quick mention to the Irish Ledger. I watched the tape of it again this morning, and I don't think the Melbourne Cup winner was in there, even though...
It's only 4 horses, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was only 4 horses.
Prince of Penzance or something.
Yeah, well, and they were quick to slash the odds, the corporates of the winner. So,
Trainer that bloke.
hey?
Good trainer that.
Willie Mullins, yeah, he is a very good trainer, but and But
Should have won last year.
he should have won. I wish he had have, Mick. One other thing, a couple of little things to do with DK. Gift of Music ran 30 and had another good race. He's, as Ralphie tweeted out, he's the People Synthetic horse.
People synthetic.
And we had another curse of the unseen Cranbourne jump out horse that may or may not have been there in the first race at Wodonga today. They backed FOMO from $4 into $1.70, but it came unstuck when Lady Lee won. So if you give us the information, you'll still get the price.
Oh, what a pity it got beat.
Yeah.
So just before we wrap up, Potts' spring special still on. It's $4.75. You get 11 full sets, which is 9 Saturdays plus Cup Day and Oaks Day, plus all of the Potts' plays from now until the end of Sandown. So
We were running out of time, but I wanted to say a couple of quick things before we go.
yeah,
I particularly enjoyed reading Matt Stewart's article on Godolphin this morning in the Sun Herald, and he said at one point the position was offered to John O'Shea at a low point in his life when he had a few issues, and it was an offer that nobody could refuse. Well, John Hawkes found a way to refuse it, and so did Peter Snowden. So there's at least 2 people that could refuse that job, which I thought was rather funny. And just because the Stern won on the weekend, good win, good horse, and good 3-year-olds there in Sydney, I'm not convinced that Godolphin will be winning that many races in Melbourne. They might, but the jury's still out on that issue for me. I'll be much more
Pretty
interested
good
in
trainer going around the sportsman's night, so at the moment, isn't it? It's probably available.
he was on the bag at Birdsville last weekend, so good luck to him.
Now, who are we talking about?
Pretty good trainer who's currently not training. He's on the sportsman's night too.
He was the one that had that
Right.
the man that was nearly
Oh,
as
yeah.
good as Winks,
Oh, not as good as
as we
Winks.
remember from the other one.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's back soonish.
You reckon? I reckon he's pretty happy with sending whatever horses he's got to do with. I reckon he'd be loving it because they're going all right.
Anyway.
Mick, thanks very much for joining us, mate. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mick.
Thanks for taking the time to spend with it. He's at RT Ralphie on Twitter, racetrackralphie.com. You can grab Potts' set. Jump on it. I'm going to tweet this out and follow. Give Nick a follow.
Mike Goody won,
on
isn't it?
Yeah.
Mike Goody won.
So jump on and give Nick a follow. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week, guys. Also, don't forget Recreational Punter Society here at the All Nations Sunday after next. We want to see everyone here. Good luck, punters.